Risk of Rain returns after 10 years as a remake, and the remake is called Risk of Rain Returns. When the first game came out, I didn't really take to it. I don't know if it was the roguelike nature of it that took me off guard, or if I just wasn't very good. Regardless, Risk of Rain didn't catch with me at first. It wasn't until Risk of Rain 2 that I started playing with my friends, having a great time, and they essentially carried me to the credits, and then I realized how much fun this game really was. Which is why I was very excited to learn that Risk of Rain Returns not only was coming out, but it came out right on my birthday. So to celebrate, I bought myself the game and I dug into it, but I actually think the game dug into me. If you've never played Risk of Rain, it's really easy to understand. It's essentially a game where you go through levels as a little guy with different skills. Now, on top of those base skills that every character has, you get abilities and other things throughout the levels. These are of course rewarded randomly. You have to pay money to open chests, you earn money by killing monsters, and ultimately your goal is to find a teleporter, fight a boss, and move on to the next stage. And while all of this is happening, time is working against you and your difficulty is getting only worse as the game goes on. So you've got to be efficient while also gaining strength at a very good pace. And if this sounds like a lot, if it sounds too difficult, you can always play with your friends online and locally as well. The biggest challenge that developers of roguelikes have to consider when making their game is how do we reward randomness? How do we make it feel like the player is actually having an effect on their own abilities rather than relying on good rolls? And in the case of the entire Risk of Rain series and also Risk of Rain Returns, the player is rewarded for learning their character's kit and understanding what they should be doing in most situations. Because no matter how strong you get, if you don't understand your character, you can die pretty quickly. And what's cool about this is that there's no one perfect character. Sure, there are characters that can get really strong and have almost broken builds, but if you get good at a character, that's your character and that's just fine as well. And one thing I found really fun about this is as you unlock these randomized perks, you start to realize which ones work better than others. And again, you don't have too much control over the ones you find, but you do start build crafting on the spot. What this means is you learn what works with your character's skill set and also the way you play, and you take that with you and you think, okay, if I get this lifesteal ability and then abilities that do damage over time, I'm just gonna keep getting health. Or if you're a character who plays close range, you know that you wanna get the barbed wire that damages enemies just for being near you. It's gonna come down to your understanding of the monsters as well as your understanding of your kit. And yeah, most games can do this, make you feel really powerful, really strong, and have it feel satisfying, but Risk of Rain's Returns make sure that it looks good while you're doing this. I'm talking about solid pixel art, really cool effects, really cool looking monsters, really good music. Sometimes I'll just stand there in a level and listen to the song because I know it's going to change when I go to the next place. And this has been true for the series since the beginning of the series. They really got the music right with Risk of Rain, Risk of Rain 2, and Risk of Rain Returns. And that's partially because the composer of the series has been the same since the original one. Really quick on the composer, because I think this is very interesting. His name is Chris Christodoulou. He's beloved for the music in Risk of Rain. But when the original developers of the first Risk of Rain were looking for their musician, Duncan Drummond and Paul Morse are the devs' names, by the way, they went to YouTube and they searched top 10 musicians or top 10 composers, and they found Chris Christodoulou. So they literally YouTubed him and found him, and now he's like the guy for Risk of Rain's music. And for good reason, because again, the music in this game cannot be understated. But one of the reasons this game really surprised me is because of how rewarding it feels, not only to get really strong in the game and to look at the game, but also after you're done. Even if you lose, it still finds a way to make you feel good about it. And this is mainly because there's lots of little things to do that maybe you won't make it through the run, but you'll unlock a new character. On top of that, you'll also find logs which fill out the game's encyclopedia. There's a bar in the menus that shows you how complete you are with all of the unlockables. Risk of Rain Returns is really good at making you feel like you're making progress even if you keep losing on your runs. It manages to make losing feel good because there's still so many things you're working towards that don't involve winning. That being said, when I was making the footage for this video, I managed to roll the credits on the game for the first time. And I say the first time because this isn't the kind of game you beat once and you're done with. There are a handful of characters not only to unlock, but then for you to master. And on top of that, there are 3 difficulties for you to eventually tackle as you get better at the game. So if you don't want to play the hardest version of this already somewhat difficult game, then you can turn the difficulty down and change a bunch of the options to customize your experience. And while the game does have multiplayer, one of the big focuses of the developers in this series throughout has been to be able to play it on your own. So to have all of this flexibility in a game that isn't really that easy is very welcome. And if you get bored of doing regular runs in Risk of Rain, the more you unlock characters, the more you unlock little challenges called Providence Trials. These trials are little missions that are handcrafted that put you in a position to try new things and unlock new abilities. But they're also enjoyable because you can try to beat your own high scores. So they're worth doing on so many levels. And on top of that, unlocking new characters in the main game then gives you a reason to go back and try the new Providence Trials that you've just unlocked as well. So you've got this loop of playing handcrafted gameplay with roguelike gameplay, and ultimately it just gets its hooks in you. And even though Risk of Rain Returns does keep you very engaged in all of these ways, it is a great game to just play and turn your brain off with. There are a lot of roguelike games out there, but not a lot of them have mainstream appeal like Risk of Rain's does. Because sometimes a roguelike does feel like you're relying on randomness, and that does come true in Risk of Rain Returns, but if the gameplay is rewarding and you feel like you had a good time every single time you played, that is when you've got something really special on your hands. And Risk of Rain Returns is really special. And if there was a cherry on top of the cake that I just baked for Risk of Rain Returns, it'd be that this game is perfect on the Steam Deck and on Nintendo Switch. Because nothing is worse than when you're playing a roguelike like this and you have a really good run going on, but then you have to go and be a person and stop playing. And if you're playing on a home console or your PC, you've got to put it in suspend mode and hope that your power doesn't go out. Somebody could turn on a toaster oven and the air conditioner at the same time, and all of a sudden, there goes your save. But it works really well on Steam Deck, and it's on Nintendo Switch, so you can just put your handheld into suspend mode and you're good. And then go handle that boring adult thing that has to be taken care of. And if you've been playing Risk of Rain Returns, let me know who your favorite character is in the comments. Or maybe tell me about your favorite roguelike if you haven't played this game. But ultimately, thanks for letting me talk your ear off about Risk of Rain Returns. I hope you play the game, it's pretty good, and I will see you in the next video.